Day 34 of the New Testament by Pentecost Reading Challenge. Today we read chapters 20 through 28 and finish the book of Acts. The final portion of Acts is devoted to Paul's arrest and legal proceedings. While the narrative focuses on Paul's defense, the Lukan presentation of God's universal gospel and creation of a people including both Jew and Gentile is what's really on trial. Real persecution is something foreign to most Christians in the United States. We take for granted that people change churches and debate beliefs, and few of us really pay attention to how religious minorities are treated around the world. While sometimes the extent of persecution early Christians faced is overstated, it was also very real and intense in certain times and places. And yet the faith spread rapidly because of the power and humility of the witness and the love exhibited in these small communities of faith. Scholars consider the central purpose of Acts, the second of Luke's 2 volumes, was not to provide a biography of Paul, but to trace the ongoing expansion of the Jesus movement. Thus, they dismiss that Paul's death is not mentioned by pointing out how focusing on it would defeat the purpose. The point isn't Paul's life, it's the continued growing witness of the community. Some key insights. A Wesleyan core term, almost Christian. The spiritual experience of almost troubled John Wesley. He longed for the destruction in himself of the whole body of sin. It would take time and maturity for him to work out key distinctions, like removal of sin's guilt in justification, sin's power in regeneration, and sin's presence in entire sanctification. In contrast to almost is the altogether or real Christian. Real Christians are those for whom the grace of God has truly transformed their inward and outward lives. The movement of a new life from the self to God, a movement resulting in a life in God through faith, and a life through love on behalf of the neighbor. For the real Christian, every almost should be increasingly resolved by seeking the fullness of God's transforming grace. Wesley's sermon, The Almost Christian, stresses the distinctively Wesleyan goal of believers going on to perfection. Mature Christian faith finally enables a purification of the heart by the gracious power of God. In the big picture, Paul and others obviously traveled extensively, and the formal role of pastor had not yet been established. So house churches were led by a variety of people, including women. This is echoed in the Wesleyan movement. A core term of the Wesleyan Study Bible is itinerancy. In Methodist usage, itinerancy refers to the defining style and understanding of preaching ministry in early American Methodism that led to elders' ordination and conference membership. Itinerancy meant being sent or appointed to a circuit and traveling around it, preaching from appointment to appointment. A ministry fundamentally missionary and evangelical in character. According to Bishops Francis Ansbury and Thomas Coke, itinerant or traveling ministry recovered the apostolic biblical style. Typically appointed in 2 to a circuit, the senior to train and the mentor the junior, itinerants at times rode alone, but frequently rode with other preachers and leaders to quarterly and camp meetings as well as to conference. And when ordained as an elder and in full connection, the itinerants through their conference membership constituted the government of the church. To cease traveling and locate meant surrendering the status of full connection and conference membership, but often produced very active, long, and productive ministries as local preachers. Now in our day, United Methodists use a very modified form of this process, and it's more common to stay located at one charge or congregation for several years. But its importance remains as we are not pastor-focused or driven as a church, but one in which all members are to be engaged in shaping the life of our community's faith and sharing the good news in their communities and the world. The pastor has particular roles and responsibilities to preaching and ordering our communal life, but these are to complement and equip, not replace, the work and ministry of the laity. Something to ponder in this time of disruption. Blessings on your reading.